Hello, I'm Nancy Luna, Senior Editor at Nation's Restaurant News and Restaurant Hospitality. Today, we're on Zoom chatting with Mario Marovic. His hospitality company owns several bars and restaurants in Southern California, and I'm here to talk to him. Mario, what's happening in California? When do you think you're going to be able to open your bars and restaurants?
Nancy, that's a great question. Originally, we were asked to close down on March 17th. We were told it would be a 2-week closure until April 1st. I'm really proud of Orange County and California as a whole. I think Orange County did a fantastic job with the stay-at-home order and the self-quarantining. I believe that we've meet or beat every projection and every estimate of what could have happened in Orange County and California. And right now, we're having a really difficult time getting a timeline from the state of California on when restaurants are going to be able to reopen for dine-in seating. So,
right.
So, it seems like.
Oh no, I was just going to say Newsom, the governor said next week, right? On Tuesday, perhaps you'll get some guidelines.
You know, he did give us a set of guidelines yesterday, which is Thursday, and he did his press conference on Monday, and he made us feel fairly confident that things were going to inch in the right direction. And on Monday, he said Thursday, he's going to give us some more clarity. Well, then on Thursday, he kind of put us on it. He gave us a fool's errand. He gave us a long list of things that need to happen in order for him to consider restaurants reopening. Like I said, Orange County's done a fantastic job. We're a county of almost 3 million people. We're larger than most states. We've only had about 54 or 55 fatalities out of 3.3 million people in the last 2 months. I think Orange County is ready for a clear timeline on when we're able to reopen. So now we're just waiting. It's just a waiting game.
Waiting game. So we don't have a date, but can you, when you do have that date, are you ready? And what will I'm particularly interested to know what your bars, your 21 and over bars will look like. Have you already figured all that out in terms of layout and physical distancing?
Well, I was on the committee for the County of Orange to create a set of guidelines for reopening Orange County. The Orange County Board of Supervisors voted on those guidelines 2 weeks ago. They got approved with a 5-0 vote. Part of those guidelines were based on hygiene, cleanliness, sanitation, and also social distancing. Bars, restaurants, we don't know what the governor is going to allow. On the bar side, a lot of bars serve food, so I do believe he might allow some sort of a food component to be required. It's still unknown. The things that we do know is there's going to be distancing and there's going to be a set of hygiene, sanitation, and safety guidelines. You need to wash your hands no less than every 30 minutes. They're requiring or recommending employees to wear face masks. They do want 6 feet away from table to table. So a lot of those things are going to come into place, which are going to artificially restrict occupancy. A lot of doctors and medical professionals are starting to discover that 2 months ago, we didn't have a lot of data. The coronavirus and COVID-19 is very new. So everything was based on models and projections. Now you flash forward 2 months later, we have data. We know what the data is. They're starting to realize now that a lot of people are safer outdoors than indoors. The beaches in Newport Beach and Orange County just got reopened. The local director of one of the hospitals said one of the safest places you can be is at the beach, and also outdoor patio dining is extremely safe. So medical professionals now are really pushing for patio dining to get opened relatively quickly. And from what I've been hearing from different cities, I've spoken to the city of Fullerton, Newport Beach, and Costa Mesa. People are trying to roll out some sort of an outdoor dining plan for all establishments, even if they don't have patios. They're trying to create maybe some sort of phase 1 restaurant rollout where people can eat outside, and they're still trying to figure that out.
The key is easing in. How many of your restaurants and bars have outdoor seating? And remind our national audience kind of what your restaurants have been doing. Have you been doing takeout as well, or have they been temporarily closed?
It's been very difficult. We have 11 locations, and as of March 18th, we closed down 9 of them. Given the original order was a 2-week order, we tried to do everything right and we took the hit. We tried to keep, well, we did keep all of our managers on full salary. We tried to keep all of our key employees still working and paying them a full wage. We used all of our food inventory and we supplied between 500 and 700 meals every single day for 2 weeks because we were told there was going to be a 2-week shutdown. Well, when the 2 weeks came and went, then it became no definitive time. Then we started furloughing, and letting people go, and then starting to get into conservation mode. We've had 2 locations open the entire time for takeout only. As of May 1, we opened 5 more. So we opened 5 more on May 1 for takeout only. One of the reasons why we opened for takeout is we were hopeful that we were going to get an opening date soon. And we wanted to get the mechanics going. We wanted the kitchen staff in the kitchen. We wanted to get everything back up and running. So right now we've got our 7 locations open, and we're just kind of sitting on the sidelines doing takeout. Takeout's not really helping much, but it keeps people working.
Wow.
There is one thing. There is one thing I hope we can talk about.
Yeah.
At some point, and it's the PPP loans.
Yeah. Were you able to get a paycheck protection loan, and how did that all go?
Well, the PPP loans are extremely, the guidelines are extremely inefficient.
Right.
People that filled out the paperwork early and they're in the dine-in restaurant industry, they're being penalized because there's an 8-week timeline where you need to spend all of the money. You need to spend 75% of it on employees, and you're able to spend 25% of it on rent and utilities. But the 25% cannot be used for rent and utilities if the 75% is not spent on employees. How do you spend 75% of that money on employees when you're a dine-in concept and you're doing just takeout? So it's very inefficient, and it's not really fair because the people that did the paperwork early, the clock's ticking, right? They got this money and they got to spend it. The people that got the money late are actually at an advantage because the later they get it, then the more time they're going to have to actually be open instead of get it when they're not open. Did you get it early then, it sounds like? We got some early. We got some recently. We applied for 11 loans. In the beginning, it was very scary and difficult, and we were applying day one. Luckily, we did get all of them. We got 10 of the 11 funded. We believe the 11th one will get funded. But once again, it's difficult because we're not open. I mean, we're doing takeout, but how do you spend 75% of the PPP money when you don't have the labor force to actually be able to get those guys working? Right. I know the National Restaurant Association is looking to try and change, that payroll cap. How many people do you have? What percentage do you have employed? Do we have, what's my total? Yeah, employee? Like how many people do you have working right now? Well, we have 550 employees total. And of the 550, we have about 80 currently employed, between 80 and 90. And as you think about reopening, I also wanted to ask you, we've heard that some restaurant owners are having trouble rehiring their furloughed workers because in some cases, can you tell us why? Are you having that trouble too? Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't think it's for multiple reasons. I think some employees are just enjoying staying home. And it has nothing to do with the coronavirus. We've talked to our employees. We have wonderful employees. We have businesses that we've owned for decades. We have a great relationship, and some people are just enjoying the unemployment benefits and being able to stay home. The unemployment benefits are right now $1,000 a week. Typically, unemployment's $400 a week. Okay. But they're giving the employees an extra $600 a week in hazard pay, and some of the people are just enjoying the fact that they get to stay home. So we didn't know what the actual labor laws were, because this is brand new, right? This never existed before. Right. So then when we got our PPP money and we started calling employees and asking them to come back, we were expecting this like open arms. I'm so excited. Thank you for bringing me back. And about 40% of our staff was like, do you mind if I don't come back?
Oh my.
Do,
And it wasn't
do
a
you mind
safety
if I,
issue. Mario,
no, they
wasn't a
actually,
safety issue. It was a
yeah,
money
and
issue.
unfortunately, no, because they would have came back if we paid them on the side. They just want to keep their unemployment benefits and milk the system. And it's
Is it,
unfortunate.
is this it? Tipped workers don't want to come back? Because I would think they make, how much does an average tip worker make at maybe one of your restaurants? Do you know ballpark?
They make extremely good wage and tip.
More than
Extremely good.
$1,000 a week when you include the.
I think that my employees make more than $1,000 a week working full time, more. But there's what's your time worth? I mean, do you want to work full time and make $60,000 a year, or do you not want to work at all, make $52,000 a year? And I think it's unfortunate that people are choosing the latter. They're
Yeah.
choosing to want to not work and make that money. And unfortunately, it's musical chairs, right? When the music stops, somebody's left standing. And if you don't, do the hard thing now, which is start working and give up that cushy unemployment, when the unemployment goes away, some people are not going to have a job.
Yeah. Yeah, we're hearing similar situations, not just here in California, but in other parts of the U.S. Tell me, you are been highly involved with, it sounds like the reopening when it happens, like anybody else. What generally, how long can you last keeping closed? I mean, you've got even with an unforgivable PPP loan, which it sounds like it's going to be.
You can't last long because a lot of the smaller operations, the guy that owns one restaurant or two, and he does get PPP money and he's not able to open, he has to pay that money back. And it's a fully amortized loan. You're paying it back monthly. It's not a balloon loan that you hold on to for 2 years and then pay it back. You're paying it back monthly, so that the money's going away as time goes by. And what I've been hearing firsthand is I was born and raised in Orange County. I grew up here. I've been in the restaurant industry for 2 generations, so I'm very involved, and I understand the culture of Orange County. I've been a sounding board for a lot of restaurants. A lot of restaurant owners are calling me up and they're saying, Mario, we're at the point now where we're going to risk opening and just having the government take my business from me because we can't afford to be closed any longer. People are at the point now where they're hungry. Landlords are not waiving rent; they're deferring rent. You know what the difference is, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That means you still got to pay it later on, and it's just going to be more.
You got to pay it back, and it's going to be more. So what's happening here is you're getting rent deferrals from the business owner side, but on the employee side, the employees are getting rent deferrals on their apartments and their housing, right? So people are getting the $1,000 a week unemployment, and they're getting deferred rent. And I think people are making some irresponsible short-term decisions. They're not making decisions for the long game, the long term, which is get back to work and start paying your rent and get the economy back up and running.
So you mentioned being a landlord, and you're a landlord too. So you kind of know both ends. You're kind of feeling the pain on each end. What has that been like as a landlord to retailers and restaurants?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I am a landlord, and I've got tenants, whether they're commercial, retail, or residential. We have some tenants that just packed up and left in the middle of the night.
Oh my goodness.
Their businesses are done. There's a flower shop that does they cater on special events and weddings in downtown Fullerton. They literally said 30-day notice, I'm gone. We got another business, coincidentally, another flower shop in the city of Costa Mesa, packed up, left, disappeared. We have a property where somebody was renting the property out for Airbnb stuff, because we're by the Anaheim Stadium and everything else.
Yeah.
Literally packed up and walked away. So a lot of people are just packing up and leaving, and they're not feeling confident that their business is going to be able to sustain. Put yourself in the situation of a commercial flower shop that does weddings and special events. When's the next time a large wedding is going to happen? When's the next time large gatherings are going to happen? Industries are getting wiped out, including the restaurant industry.
How long do you think before, like, what do you think, once you start to reopening, what do you think capacity is going to be like? What's going to be the psyche of the diner? Do you expect them to be in a few different categories of like, yeah, let's go, or stay away?
That's what's interesting. An interesting thing about America is never before in the history of our country have we quarantined the healthy. You usually quarantine the sick. So now we're quarantining the healthy, right? So there's going to be people that have different appetites for risk. You're going to have the people who are naturally high risk because they're older or have previous health conditions. I mean, I believe that those people will most likely, most of them will choose to stay home. And then you're going to have the people who are relatively healthy but are risk averse. And those people are going to have the choice to stay home. They're going to have the choice to eat out or do takeout, either way. But you're going to have the people that are healthy and are not overly risk averse. They're going to be able to have the choice to dine out. So you're going to have the people who should stay home, the people that can choose to stay home, and the people that can also choose to go out. And that's kind of what's always made America great. We're not a country where people are, they hide out in their houses and they don't leave and everyone should live in fear. I mean, people should have the choice. And I think a lot of restaurant operators are going to choose to not reopen if they don't feel that it's safe or if they don't feel that they're safe. And a lot of restaurant operators are going to choose to open. So yeah, there's going to be different categories.
Right. And it sounds like in the category of you're going to choose to reopen. And are you going to flip that switch with all your restaurants all at once if you're allowed?
That's one of the reasons why we started rolling out more of our takeout programs now, even though they're not really profitable. We wanted a long runway. So you can imagine you open up, let's say the governor flipped the switch and said, hey, you guys can open on Friday and today's Monday. Yeah. Well, that would be pretty difficult to accomplish. It takes quite a bit of time to reopen a restaurant when it's already closed. So One of the reasons why we opened up for takeout was not because we thought takeout was profitable. It's because we wanted that long runway of being open. The kitchen is working, inventory's on the shelves, employees are in the building. So when you go from the takeout model to the dine-in model, even though it will most likely be restricted, at least the business is already running. So it was just an opportunity for us to have the mechanics of the business going. So when we're finally allowed to open for dine-in, it's going to be an easier transition than being closed going to open.
So I want to go back to the bars. I mean, bars are and you own one of the most popular, longest operational bars in Orange County, and the Stag Bar. I imagine that in Newport Beach, California, right by the water. I can't imagine distancing in bars. Like, what is it you're thinking when your bars reopen? What is it going to look like? And is it going to be manageable? Can you keep people from distancing being close together?
Well, the answer is yes, it is manageable. What's really, and every business is going to be unique in the operational plan that you've got to put forward to be responsible. I think the type of seating you have, do you have freestanding tables or do you have booths? If you have freestanding tables, obviously you could remove tables and move them and also reconfigure them. If you have built-in dining booths, how do you reconfigure those when they're bolted down to the ground? So the interesting thing about Stag Bar specifically is it opened up in 1908. It's Stag Bar and Kitchen. We do sell a lot of food. And Brad Johnson from the OC Register voted us top 10 pizzas in Orange County a couple of years ago.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, so the Stag Bar will have a dining component. And what's interesting about the Stag Bar is we have a 100-foot long bar that spans from one end of the building all the way down to the other.
Okay.
That'll be really easy to remove chairs and do markings on the bar top and be able to separate people.
Okay.
You could remove some of the freestanding tables. You keep some of the booths bolted down to the ground. We have an operational plan for each location. About 80% of the plan is the same when it comes to personal hygiene and sanitation. And about 20% of the plan really comes down to footprint and furniture layout.
Right. Which one is the most complicated for you? And maybe you can describe it real quickly.
Most complicated. I don't think I have a complicated one.
Are you just marking up? You have a lot of restaurants, I know, like with some booths. Are you just going to seat everybody in every other booth and just remove some tables?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the reason why I said I don't think it's complicated, it's just everyone is different. You know, you're going to have a restaurant with freestanding tables where you can remove a table and spread them apart. You have a restaurant that has built-in booths. You maybe seat every other booth, and then depending on customer flow, you rearrange which booth is being sat and when. So everyone is different. I don't think any one is going to be really complicated. I think everyone is doable. We're putting sanitizing stations throughout the restaurant. We're going to have the hand sanitizers at the front door, on the outside of each restroom, scattered throughout the restaurant, so customers are able to sanitize their hands in addition to washing them.
Yeah.
The employees are going to wear face masks, rubber gloves, and then we'll have a detailed set of best practices put forward for each location individually.
Has there been any talk about technology? Like, how are you going to do the check? I mean, everybody wants to do contactless. Today, I wrote about a restaurant that was going to be doing QR codes for the menu. Like, what's your strategy on that?
That's going to be an interesting one. We do paper receipts. We just want to keep them clean. We're going to have employees when the check comes out of the receipt and you need to sign it, we're going to make sure the check presenters are properly sanitized and they go in there and the employees are wearing the rubber gloves.
Nice.
What was a really interesting experiment is my wife and I went to one of my restaurants last week, and we did a mock rehearsal with some of the employees, and we took notes. And my wife's a doctor in psychology, and she was a wonderful mother. When she had the stay-at-home notice, she followed all the rules, didn't leave the house. The kids are schooled on Zoom, and I mean she was mad at me for going to work, but I have to go to work. And I mean she followed all the rules. So now that she's feeling a little bit more comfortable, because once again the data is out. 2 months ago there was no data. We had projections. Now we have data. So we sat there and the employees brought us silverware. And my wife's like, "What do you think about silverware? What do you think about it? I mean, do you want to do disposables? If you do disposables, you can't eat a steak, right? You're not going to eat a ribeye with a plastic fork." So then we decided that we're going to give, depending on what the meal is, we're going to give the customer an option for disposable. And then we're going to quarantine and sanitize our silverware. We're going to zip them up in Ziploc bags, pre-roll. Yeah. And after they've been properly sanitized, we're going to let them sit for a few days and have them be properly quarantined. And we're going to let our customers know that our silverware was quarantined for 3 days and sanitized before it went into a quarantine bag. And then we're going to serve them tableside with rubber gloves.
I think those are all really great ideas and really smart of you to do sort of the mock scenario, because I think one thing that I've learned from interviewing operators for the last few weeks as they prepare to reopen is safety is the number one thing that consumers want. They want to hear that. So I really appreciate, I know you have to move on to a big meeting.
I do have that 2 o'clock meeting with the city of Costa Mesa. We're on the reopening committee.
Yeah, reopening committee. That sounds positive. So I want to thank you for being with us, Mario, and let's keep in touch on when you reopen, and good luck to you and all your team members. I hope we can get them to come back.
Well, thank you very much, Nancy, for having me. And one thing also is, please, hopefully we can create an educated narrative of data. I think the data is positive. I think I can't speak for the rest of the country. I can speak for Orange County specifically and most of California. The data is positive. And the hospitals in Orange County specifically have a very, very high vacancy factor. The ERs are mostly empty. And we're hearing this firsthand. So the hospital beds are available. The ventilators are not being used. So we're in a very good position here in Orange County, and I wish nothing but safety and proper openings to the rest of the United States, and hopefully every local municipality will be able to roll out a successful safety opening plan for their city or county.
Well, hear to that. Well, thank you. You stay safe and good luck on your next meeting. Thanks, Mario.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.